Frank Santopadre's new podcast, Fun for All Ages, is like classic TV, vintage candy, and a rim shot all rolled into one. It's smart, it's funny, and somehow it made me nostalgic for things I never even liked.
Navigating through the chaos of these modern days. Lost in the radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Radio Labyrinth.
Our guest this week is a veteran comedy writer, producer, and pop culture historian who spent decades behind the scenes making funny people even funnier. He's the longtime co-host and co-creator of Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, where he's shown a spotlight on the legends and unsung heroes of Hollywood. His razor-sharp wit and encyclopedic knowledge of classic show business have garnered him countless fans. He's here to promote his new podcast, Fun for All Ages. Please welcome the brilliantly funny and always insightful Frank Santopadre. What a joy for us. Welcome, Frank.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you guys for your support. It means a lot. You know, it took 3 years for me to get back on the horse, so I really appreciate the reception.
But you're not only doing a podcast. You're a writer. You constantly are working. You archivist. You just amazing career, actually.
You're very kind to call me an archivist, but I will accept writer. Yes, I work at The View with Joy and Whoopi. I've been writing for that show for 11 years.
Oh wow, 11 years.
Old days, I did everything but write. You know, you guys know. I wrote roast for Comedy Central. I wrote for Mad Magazine. I used to write trading cards for Tops. I used to write Garbage Pail Kids and all that stuff. So,
did you come up with the funny, catchy names for all those?
In some cases, yeah. I wrote Wacky Packs. I wrote Garbage Pail Kids. I wrote Bazooka Joe comics. This is when I was just leaving college.
Wish I had never taken all my Wacky Packs and stuck them on everything, from helmets.
Well, you know, the classic ones were the 60s and 70s ones. I didn't work on them until the 90s.
Okay. Well, I still bought them.
A lot of weird stuff over the years.
Yeah.
Award shows and roasts and, 600 and something episodes of the show with Gilbert.
And you said in the first episode, and I don't know if this isn't a direct quote, but are they in the Library of Congress, or are they being considered for the Library of Congress?
I got a call from a gentleman at the Library of Congress maybe 3 years ago, right after Gil passed, and we had a very fruitful conversation, and he was interested in the whole shebang, everything, including all the unedited stuff, which I really wasn't ready to unleash on the world. Much of the world should be protected from it. But he said, look, I love it. I love the show. I'd love to acquire these because, we had these long-form interviews with icons like Carl Reiner and Dick Van Dyke and Norman Lear and Alan Arkin. So they're of some value. But he said, look, it's also a Washington bureaucracy. And who knows what kind of red tape I'll run into, and it might take me a while to get back to you. And we haven't spoken since. So I probably should do my due diligence and follow up.
They're so important if you are of a certain age, even younger than Gen X and millennials and stuff. And we have come to that era where we're now categorizing everybody. But the shows are so important if you value the things that we grow up with. And being a Gen Xer born in 1970, we grew up, we watched the Bob Hope specials. We watched cartoon, if our parents let us. We watched the original Saturday Night Lives, again, if our parents let us. And all the reruns that we saw on Channel 11 growing up, watching The Odd Couple and The Honeymooners every single night after the Yankees were off. That's me in the summer every single year. And it's so important that these people, these actors, these creators, the writers and the comedians who, really built a foundation for a lot of people that are still working today. Those things have to be saved and preserved and shared for generations to come. So I will now get off my soapbox, but they're so important and they were so valuable.
Thank you. On
top of being entertaining, yeah.
That is something we stumbled into. I've said this many times. When Dara, Gilbert's wife, asked me to do this, I thought this is a lark. I mean, it'll kind of be like talking to Gilbert, having a lengthy phone conversation with Gilbert, instead of talking about Gavin MacLeod will actually, or Billy Saluga. You guys know Billy Saluga, right? You can call him Ray guy.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to them. But we never approached it with any kind of lofty aspirations to, well, we're going to make an oral history of show business of the 20th century. I mean, but that just happened quite accidentally, as many great things do. And it didn't happen till, I think Dick Van Dyke coming on the show was a turning point. And I thought, well, now I actually have a responsibility to do this right and do it well and take it seriously because we are talking to icons and it wasn't a lark anymore. But all of that whole thing returned into a tribute and as something that the Library of Congress would even consider getting involved with really was a happy accident. And then Gilbert and I kind of accidentally found that we liked doing it. We liked paying tribute to these people. We liked being in their presence. And that is when I think the thing kind of took off, but that wasn't planned.
Had you met Gilbert before you decided to try doing the podcast with him?
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. I've met Gilbert many, many times over the years, but he never met me, if you know what I mean. He had no idea who I was, despite the fact... You know that running gag on The Simpsons where Mr. Burns has no idea who Homer is?
Yeah.
Who is this nincompoop?
I've worked here for 10 years, and my boss doesn't even know my name.
I worked with Gilbert on a show called Caroline's Comedy Hour, which was a stand-up show that they did here in New York in the 90s.
Yep.
And I wrote material for him, rehearsed it with him. I met him at parties. I met him at rap parties. I worked on roasts he was on. I sat with him and different groups of people at the Friars Club. He still continued to have no idea who I was. This went on for years. And I would say, I'd say, Gilbert, you know me. And he'd say, I know you. And he'd fake me out. And he'd say, you're the guy in the white and gray checkered shirt. And it kind of came to a head when I was in L.A. I was living in L.A. and one Sunday morning I got up early to take a drive and I saw some strange person walking down Ventura Boulevard. And if you guys know L.A., you know nobody walks in L.A., but especially on a Sunday morning. And I thought, is that Gilbert? I did a U-turn on Ventura Boulevard and I pulled up next to him in my shitty broken down Volvo. And I rolled down the window. I said, Gilbert, it's Frank. I wrote for you on Caroline's Comedy Hour. We worked together on so-and-so. We worked together on this roast at the Friars. And he just wasn't coming too close to the vehicle until I told him where I was going. I was on my way to, later that day or later that morning, I was going to a nostalgia show at the Beverly Garland Hotel. And they had Don Knotts and Howard Morris and Pat Harrington from One Day at a Time. Wow. And Adam West and all these people. You've been to these shows.
Yeah.
Nostalgia show. And I think I got the second name out and he got in the car. And I wound up driving him to this thing. We spent the entire day. There's that famous story I told on the podcast where he met Adriana Castellotti, who was the original voice of Snow White. And we walked into this thing and he was in heaven. There was Adam West. There was Don Knotts. There was Priscilla Barnes from Three's Company and Norman Fell. And we had this memorable day together. And it was quite funny. And we spent hours at this show. And I think the very next time I saw him, he had no idea who I was. So that went on for years until I got on a show called The Joy Behar Show, which was a show done on HLN, CNN sister station. And Gilbert became our Tony Randall. He became our emergency guest.
Right.
He was the guy that would show up when there was a cancellation and he'd just come for the craft services. I got to know his wife because she had social skills, unlike Gilbert. And eventually we formed a little bit of a friendship. And then she asked me to help him with his freshen up his act because his agents were desperate for him to do that, although he didn't do it. Those conversations, those late night conversations, which were supposed to be brainstorming sessions, led to the podcast. Which was not my idea either. I can't take credit for it. All his wife.
You didn't have him because you had passed away. But do you think Norman Fell would have been a good guest for the show?
I hope so. I went up to him memorably at that particular convention. I want to say this was 1990. I just moved to L.A. 96 or 97. And Norman Fell used to be the second banana on a Burt Reynolds cop show called Dan August. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that.
I don't remember that. No.
The 70s. So what am I going to say to Norman Fell? You try not to say anything too stupid. And I said, hey, I said, are they ever going to put those Dan August shows out on DVD? And completely deadpan, he looked at me and he said, that very question keeps me up nights. So I think he'd be great. When we started in 2014, we right out of the gate, we were lamenting all the people who were already gone.
Yeah.
But we managed to scare up about 400 people. So, but again, all happy accident.
Did you make him laugh?
Once in a while, and it was a great gift.
Yeah.
For any of us that aspired to be funny people and desperately wanted to be in show business, to make a hero laugh or somebody who was as respected, someone I looked up to. That was a thrill every time it happened. But then again, he was an easy laugh.
Yeah. I was on a morning show, and we would have comics come in, kind of like Stern did, where we just let them do their thing. We didn't watch shtick, where they, just to be themselves. And I always had to go downstairs and get Gilbert. And I was too nervous to ever really talk to him. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, after, can I get a picture? And I don't know why I'm not nervous anymore, but I was. And one time he got on the elevator, and I started doing his voice, quoting the prank calls that Howard's team made using his voice.
Sure.
And then doing the other person too. And he actually cracked up. So I found the key is probably just to quote him.
Yeah.
And
you played it safe.
Yes.
By the way, you could have interviewed him 30 times in that year, and on the 31st time, you'd be introducing yourself all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Tim.
What brought you back to the new podcast? It's been several years now, and we have been talking for probably 2 years about how much we miss
Thank you.
your podcast voice.
That means so much to me. I miss the community. I think more than anything, I get to do stuff like this and meet great guys like you. And, if you don't have a project, I was talking to a friend today, and I was saying that, we put out the 2 Gilbert episodes a week, a Monday show that we call the Encore and the Thursday episode that we call the Classic, because the bench is so deep and there's 600 some odd episodes. And so I do stay in touch with a lot of the people on social media. But I said to a friend today, I started to feel it slipping away a little bit, the community, because I didn't have material for new conversations.
Yeah.
And we were going over the same 600 shows, over and over and over again. And I think what it created for me on social media and the people that I talk to all over the world, this new show, I got mail from Japan and Australia and the UK, and it never ceases to knock me out, that many people are interested in talking about Larry Hovis. Appreciate you getting the references. I think to answer your question, that is the number one thing. I miss doing it. I miss talking to these wonderful people. You guys know you do a show when you're in the zone and the right guest is on and everybody's laughing and everybody's finishing each other's sentences, and you guys know you're all in the pocket, as they say.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. I just had Robert Smigel on for 2 episodes.
Oh, nice.
2 episodes, but we did 3 hours. And my friend Dan Pasternak was a comedy historian and producer, was in there with me co-hosting. And the 3 of us, it was just like jazz. I miss that too. But I really miss the people. I miss the audience. And I miss, it's nice when you put an episode out on a Tuesday morning and your phone blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. 80 people before you even got out of bed and got dressed. So yeah, I miss that.
One of our fans, his name is Jerry, and he was a huge fan of the podcast, and he goes by Fuxie. He got me, in fact, a couple of Orange Wedge buttons.
That's a true friend, Tim.
He supported the show, and he loved your show. And he wanted me to say the new podcast is great, and I'm laughing at the Batman villains, which is the most recent episode.
Fun for All Ages is the show. Yeah, we just had Dana Gould on. I part of the reason it took me so long to come back is I didn't have a new hook. and I didn't have a way of doing this differently than I'd just done it 600 times.
Yeah.
And I knew that some of my friends that I made on the first show, like Richard Kind and Beverly D'Angelo and people like that, were going to come back. But how do I do another 90-minute career retrospective with them? I did it.
Yeah.
You know, use the same cards, go over the same old ground. And so that's when I looked at the mini episodes that Gilbert and I used to do on Thursdays, which was usually just me and Gilbert and a topic. And that topic could have been, you know, Battle of the Network Stars or the Dean Martin roasts or bad Frankenstein movies or one-hit wonders from 1975 or whatever the hell popped into my head that week, because he was doing no work at all. He'd basically show up. And I thought, I could do something with this. I could take this idea where every week it's a different kind of pop culture topic, and I'll find experts. I'll see if I can fold celebrities into it somehow so I can bring those people back. Like, this is crazy. Beverly D'Angelo, you guys know from the Vacation movies, and
And
when she first moved to L.A. from Ohio, she was a board artist at Hanna-Barbera.
Wow.
Jeff's nodding like he knew that. Did you know that?
I did hear an interview with her on the Wilder Ride podcast where she talked a lot about her life starting out.
There you go. So I started thinking, how do you find a way to interview these people about things they did that no one knows, really, or things they're passionate about, things they don't get to talk about? And then I looked at the episode we did with Kirk Hammett from Metallica on the old show. And I remember booking him, and I remember saying to his publicist, listen, I know nothing about Metallica. Gilbert knows less.
Yeah.
They said he just wants to talk about monster movies. So we did a whole episode with Kirk Hammett, and I think Metallica got mentioned once in 90 minutes. And I thought, that's an idea. That could be a pilot for this idea. I can bring Jason Alexander back, but we could do a whole new episode about, you know, Bob Newhart records. So then I was intrigued. Then I thought, well, maybe there's a way to do this and make it as interesting. And of course, the other thing that was giving me pause was I knew that what Gilbert had and I had was a special dynamic. And you can't replace a person like that in any way, shape, or form. You can't replace, even though I joke and say he didn't do any actual work. The energy and the subversiveness and the chaos and all of those wonderful things that he brought. There's nobody like that.
Yeah. Well, the Gilbot is pretty damn close.
Well, the Gilbot was
That's so good.
The Gilbot is our friend Barrett Letty, who's a very gifted voice actor, and he had perfected this Gilbert voice. And the thought was, we'll have him on as Barrett. But I thought that's not fun enough. It's not a gimmick to just say, here's our friend who does Gilbert.
Right.
And then I was in the shower where many of my good ideas come. And I thought, what if he's an AI? And then I got Gilbot. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's it. And we'll mess with people's heads and we'll make them think that it's an AI as long as we can get away with it. And it worked because a lot of people reached out and said, how are you doing this?
Yeah, we had a text chain going back and forth for like the first hour when we listened to the show. We're like, who is the Gilbot? There's no way it's really AI. It's too quick, too funny.
Yeah, he was answering. He was delivering punchlines in real time as a response to questions. There's no way an AI could do that.
I thought it was Amy Ryan.
That's funny. She does a good one.
But there's two reasons I knew it wasn't AI. First, it was so quick. But second of all, having that deep knowledge of the show and all the references and things like that. And how old is he? He doesn't seem...
He's got to be in his early 30s.
I think he's 34.
Yeah.
And at that age, to know all of those references and to really know them. He's not just reading a script, I assume.
Yeah. And then to be able to do the impressions.
The old Groucho voice.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Impressive. So we thought, okay, and then and I was saying this today to somebody as well. I was saying, gee, is this in bad taste? Are we going to get blowback from this? Like we're doing, and then I realized who I was talking about, that I was talking about the greatest bad taste comedian of all time. Yeah. So why was I even worried? And boy, Barrett really, really knocked it out of the park.
I did wonder what Dara's reaction would be to the impression.
She was in the room.
Yeah.
And I thought too, well, if people know she's in the room and they can hear her laughing, that kind of sanctions it for people. Then they don't have to be offended on her behalf.
Right.
On behalf of the heirs or the family because she's there. In fact, Barrett is a close friend of hers. So they sent me she and Barrett and a guy named Adam Reed, who's a friend of the podcast, another producer. They sent me maybe 6 months ago a version of this that was so uncanny, I didn't even know it was Barrett.
Wow.
And I thought, well, maybe we could do something with it, but what? And you can't run that for a whole show. You can't co-host with with somebody as Gilbert. It's a spice. You use it sparingly.
Yeah, I thought this last episode it was used very, just a small. I think one time he did it, but it was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying. Yeah, and we're feeling our way through it, and when we have the Billy Wests and the Jackie Martlings back, and the people who knew Gilbert and loved Gilbert and are cool with the joke, we'll bring them back.
I think Barrett could probably do Billy West pretty well too if he tried.
Probably.
Yeah.
Did you hear his Eartha Kitt on the second episode?
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
That was great.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know where that talent comes from.
Jackie'll like it because, they tortured him for years with the Jackie puppet.
Sure. Somebody already requested the Billy doing the Jackie puppet and Gilbert and Barrett doing the Gilbot. Listen, we'll throw stuff at the wall. We'll see what sticks. We'll see what people go for.
We're going to get Tim to do the Bill Macy robot.
Oh, amazing robot. That was funny.
I was obsessed with the show Maude when I was a kid, and there are a couple of reasons. One, she looked like my grandma with the hair and everything, and the long waistcoats or whatever those things were called.
Yeah.
And so I'm young, and I loved All in the Family. I like these shows because my grandparents let me watch them with them, and for the longest time, Maude wasn't in syndication where I could watch it. PIX wasn't carrying it, and that's where I watched everything. And
where are you from originally? You keep mentioning PIX.
Jeff and I grew up in a small town called Mansfield, Pennsylvania, which is just south of Elmira, New York, and it's in.
You got PIX that far out of New York.
Oh yeah, yep. We grew up with that, and you'd come home from school, you'd watch The Magic Garden, maybe.
Oh God, yes,
Gerald,
of course.
Tom and Jerry, and and then Sanford and Son, and all of that stuff.
Odd Couple.
Yeah.
Oh, and in the morning it was F Troop and Get Smart.
Great stuff.
And that horrible movie that they showed every Sunday after they'd show the Three Stooges and Abbott and Costello.
They used to have Abbott and Costello. What was it? Every Sunday morning.
Yes.
On Mix. Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Queens, New York, and on Long Island, and so Gilbert and I also shared all those references.
Oh yeah,
PIX and but Channel 5 and Channel 9.
We never got Channel 5, but we did get WOR.
Sure,
I think sometime around 1980, and they had stuff that PIX didn't have, but. Mostly they showed MASH all the time. But Maude was one of those shows that when I heard the theme song, it drove me crazy because I meant I either have to go to bed or trick them enough to stay up and watch. Because they were laughing, I was laughing. Same with Bob Hope, because when I got older and started watching all the Bob Hope things again, I'm like, why was I laughing at this? Anyway.
Yeah, you and a couple of million other people.
Right. But then I heard...
You're younger than me. You don't remember when PIX had hosts, afternoon hosts, like Officer Joe Bolton.
No.
You know who that is?
I know because of the show, but we didn't...
Dressed in a policeman's uniform who would show Three Stooges shorts. And then there was another guy named Captain Jack McCarthy, and he had I guess he had a Siemens kind of a gimmick, and he showed Popeye cartoons. Popeye. Three bells and all as well. He would ring a bell. Growing up with this stuff, that's so local television. Local television characters. That's such a thing of the past.
Do you remember the guy that hosted the creature feature that wore the fez? He was an older guy with white hair. I think it was on 11. He wore like a red.
You don't mean Zachary?
Is that his name? Zachary?
Well, it was John Zachary, who was a ghoulish kind of monster host, but I don't remember him in a fez.
Whoever this was, the hand would come out of the crypt, and it was very, very scary.
You guys watch Svengoolie? You watch Rich Goes on Saturday night? I mean, he's a throwback, but that's kind of the last of that local television host gimmick that we grew up with.
My son is 5. We had him after the pandemic. I'm 54, so I got to hang on there for him. But he's going to be so lucky because I'm going to introduce him to a lot of this stuff, and I even let him watch one episode of the Three Stooges. And he was laughing the whole time, and then it dawned on me: maybe 4 is a little too young because I don't want to be to school. Maybe give years, but I'm 6, 7 years old watching it, so not much longer.
When I look back at those things now, and the violence is very cartoonish, but I think, well, what are our parents thinking?
Yeah.
Just plop us down in front of the set at 6, and Larry's taking a blowtorch. Back of Mo's head. Got it backward, Mo.
You're practicing the eye thing?
If you listen to our Billy West episodes about the Stooges, he is so funny on that subject.
Oh, yeah, and he knows so much.
Yeah.
And listen, Frank, I listen to that episode at least once a week, so I'm sort of a bizarre weirdo.
You do. The Billy West Returns, the second one, is even better.
Oh, I've listened to that one.
Where I keep egging him on to do the same Al Lewis bit.
Yes.
Over and over again.
When we had him on, we made him do that, and then Marge shot as much as you could without going too stern.
Sure. You got to watch that one.
Yes. Or the lady from Boston that he did. And that's where I did the Bill Macy for him. And he's like, oh, God, you ought to come on my show and just do that. God.
That's pretty good. I never heard anybody do Billy West.
Hey.
Not bad at all.
I'll try. Here's a line for you. Let me see if you get this. Hey, Maude, what is Stretch Cunningham doing naked in our closet?
Did Stretch Cunningham cross over from All in the Family to Maude?
That old lady that lived in their house.
Yeah.
She had
Mrs. Naugatuck.
Yes. There was a naked guy in her closet, and they were both trying to get in there, figure out why is there a naked guy in your closet. And they open it up, and it's James Cromwell. So
James Cromwell, whose father was a Golden Age film director.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, John Cromwell. Yeah, worth Googling.
So, but he did a lot of character acting before he got super famous, I imagine.
Yeah. He was in a failed Norman Lear sitcom called Hot L Baltimore.
Whoa! With
Charlotte Ray from Facts of Life. Your listeners just turned off their sets.
No, they didn't. I know Charlotte Ray. They and you guys talked to her too.
Charlotte Ray, yeah. She was in. She played Al Lewis's wife on Car 54. Where are you, Sylvia Schnauzer? I don't think she cared for him.
No,
very much.
One of the earlier episodes with Bob Einstein.
That's a great one.
At the beginning, I can't do him. How do you know these things?
Pretty good again.
But that's
Lee Curtis, who's Bob's manager, had to drag him to that recording.
Yeah,
and Lee says the whole way there, because we didn't have an LA studio in those days because we hadn't gone to our last company. We hadn't gone to Earwolf, and we weren't using their LA studio yet. So LA Guest recorded upstairs I think it was in the Improv on Melrose. And it was a dinky little recording studio on top of a comedy club. And Bob thought, I am completely slumming. This is the end of my career. So he was berating Lee, his manager, the entire way to the recording session. What are you making me do? What's a podcast? Why am I doing this? And then we got him on. He was funny, confrontational, but also confrontational. He was, I think, 20% or so. He was genuinely pissed off that he'd been dragged to do this. Yeah. And you can always tell, so that was flop sweat. I was working really hard to pull him in and dropping all the names I could from his career. And then he just thought he was being punked. Like, you don't know who Freeman King is or Billy Van or any of these names, because he was a writer and a performer on the Smothers Brothers show.
Yes.
And then he wrote every variety show, the Sunny Comedy Review after Sonny and Cher broke up. And I think he wrote on Tony Orlando and Dawn. I'd have to look this up, but it was always the same repertory company of people. And I was pulling these names out and it wasn't research. I remembered them.
Yes.
you know. And so he busted our hump on that episode. You heard it. Yeah, good 90 minutes. By the way, that is arguably the funniest show we ever did. And when I got home, I walked in. My wife said, "How was it?" And I said, "I'm not sure he liked us. It was funny, but then Lee must have given him my phone number. There was a voicemail, and he was out of character, and he was gushing about how he's never been interviewed like that, and how soon could we do it again."
That's
My
awesome.
bad is we never had him back, which I kicked myself about.
Well, thanks to him, anytime I watch Sanford and Son, I think, get a man, relax.
Get a man, relax. also, get me my Jews back.
Yes.
When they decided to bring in African American writers.
Yeah, that's great. Was Gary Shandling was one of the first writers?
I think Gary Shandling, I'm not sure Gary Shandling was on staff. He might have been. He certainly did a couple episodes freelance. The episode, the story, the Bob Einstein story that kills me on that episode is Slappy White being chased by the dogs into the swimming pool. It's just wonderful. You know, the whole conceit of the show, when Dara approached us and I said, "What are we going to do?" I didn't know what a podcast was. Gilbert certainly didn't know.
No.
And I thought, we can't just ramble. We can't just get on and hey, remember this episode of Sanford and Son, and remember this episode of
Right.
It's just not gonna. It needed a structure. That's when we thought, oh well, we'll do really deep dives into this stuff, and then I thought, well, I happened to see Broadway Danny Rose again right around the time we were brainstorming this, and I thought, what if it's just remember the wraparound segments in the Carnegie?
Yeah.
What if it's 4 or 5 of the funniest guys you could assemble every week, sitting around a table telling their best showbiz stories?
Yeah.
And that was the jumping off point for this. We didn't do the research. We didn't go out and find other podcasts or other people doing this. But then I quickly realized you couldn't have 6 people on every episode. It would be chaos. So then it turned into an interview show. It's kind of a one-on-one, but it retained the spirit of that. And I like to think the new one will as well, because that's when I get together with my comedy writer friends and we sit in a diner and we'll, I'm sure this happens with you guys as well. And if you get each other's references and you start doing movie dialogue and
Yes.
you'll sit there for hours and just lose an entire evening. And I thought, how do we bottle that?
Well, I will say that when Gilbert died and the show ended, there was a massive gap in the podcasting world. There's 1,000 podcasts.
That's very kind.
Everybody has everything that they need. You can get everything you want. And shortly after that, it was the rise of the comedian podcast, and they all go on each other's shows, and we watch a lot of those. Mm-hmm. But there wasn't a podcast that I was a consistent listener of other than Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. And also during the pandemic, I really got into the dynamic between Steve Sciarippa and Michael Imperioli with their
those guys are fun.
Talking Sopranos. Yeah. And I'm going to get a little emotional, and then I'll shut up and I'll be funny again, maybe. I don't know. But it's the personal experience that I had with the show, starting to listen to it before the pandemic, but just being shut up. And I work on a daily topical radio show. We are 80% funny. My boss does rants. That's the way it's always been. It's on a heritage station in Atlanta, WSB. So I have to pay attention to the news. I would rather live in the old days. And
of course, I have to pay attention to the news too. I'm writing a daily political talk show.
I know. And it can get to you. And it got to me. I got overwhelmed a lot. But there was always a couple of days a week when I was grounded. I'd get home from work or get off the couch from work and walk out into the carport and listen to the show. And it meant an awful lot to me.
Thank you, Tim.
To have that. And I would write you, if there was a particular episode that I would write you and thank you for it. I always felt goofy, but it was from the heart. And I'm like, this was very important. I did after the Mac Davis episode, and you would always
that one touched me too.
And you wrote me back, and that meant an awful lot to me. So I just wanted to share that. And now that you're back and you've got a new podcast, Fun for All Ages, I'm going to check it out every single week because that's something I like. It keeps me grounded. It makes me happy. It makes me smile. Sometimes I get a little teary. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, we got coming up. That's very nice of you. And thank you for saying all those things. And also thank you for reaching out. I do try to answer everybody as best I can. because I think it's a personal show, and I think the content reaches people on a personal level. So when someone's writing something like that to me, or telling me, I had people write to me that, they were going through some depression and they got in their car and drove cross country listening to 30 episodes or something like that. I feel compelled to respond. It touches me. I get emotional talking about it too. I think shared memories like this of the stuff we loved, it reminds us of a time of certain times in our life. But I think it's a thing that connects us.
Yeah.
And again, that never occurred to me at the outset. I wasn't thinking, well, what are the where are we going with this, and how is it going to move people, and what kind of mail are we going to get, and you don't plan for any of those things. We were just, but I'll tell you, it's a lesson in talk about what you love, do what you love.
Yes,
as a creative person, speak from the heart. I can honestly say, of all the things I've done in my career, where I was always dancing to somebody else's song. This is one of the first times that I was actually, it's funny, I'll share something with you guys. I always wanted to be on a late night writing staff. And it's for whatever reason, for the politics of the situation, I wasn't in the right place at the right time. I mean, I'm not complaining. I had a lot of fun writing the things that I got to write and meeting the people that I got to write. But I never got into that writer's room that I wanted to get into, which is what my fantasy was of where my career should be. And then it occurred to me about 25 episodes into this thing, as somebody, Bob Saget or Weird Al or somebody is sitting across the table looking at me. I thought, wait a minute, I've got my own talk show.
Yeah.
How did this happen? and it's all of the great things that have happened to me since, because of that show, is because we decided to talk about the things we loved and we cared about. And then, of course, I hit myself in the head and thought, well, why the hell didn't I think of this a lot sooner?
It came at the right moment.
Yeah, I say that to young writers and people who ask me, I say that if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have spent so much time, banging on the door trying to get invited to somebody else's party.
Yeah.
And I would have thrown my own party and invited the people that I wanted to invite. And once I did that, it's funny because I started getting messages on Facebook from producers in LA I could never get meetings with in the 90s, and they started writing me about the show. So it was a wake-up call.
The only thing I've ever wanted to do in my entire life, other than wanting to be a history teacher, which didn't happen, was to work in radio. There was something magic about it, and it's not extremely lucrative, but I make enough, and I like it, and I love it. I've gotten to interview really cool people, including right now, and Jeff and I have been doing this. Jeff and I started this podcast. We've known each other since 1979, and so this is a great thrill for me every week. And little things that I've done in my life, like I've done a couple of voices on Adult Swim, and my wife will go, why don't you send this out, and this out? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But I have a lot of joy from the small things that I've done and getting to work with people and meet people. And again, this is another episode where I'm like, wow, we're talking to Frank.
Oh, you're too kind, Tim. Did you ever work with Ned Hastings at Adult Swim?
I know Ned. I worked mostly with Dave Willis.
Dave Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Claro from, Aqua Teen. I was on the last season, and I got to do a bunch of celebrity voices. So that's a thrill, outside the family. But it's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Well, you guys are good at this. I think this is something that's coming very naturally to you guys. And you're excellent hosts.
Oh, thank you.
Very accommodating. I try to have gratitude for all of the creative people I meet. And I had lunch with a guy named Michael Coman today, who was the Robert Smigel's partner in the show Jack and Triumph. If anybody remembers that, speaking of Adult Swim.
Yeah.
I cherish, and I'm, again, a guy I met because of the podcast. I cherish these experiences. I think we're very lucky to be in creative fields.
Yes.
And to be meeting other like-minded people and swimming around in this stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but it keeps me young and immature.
I never want to grow up. I do not ever want to grow up.
I'm still talking about the stuff I was talking about when I was 12.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting paid for it, but I'm still talking about wacky packs and the latest Al Jaffe fold-in, and in my 60s. So it's just I don't know. I do believe that it's a clunky cliche, but I do believe that immersing yourself in the things that you care about and have always cared about and are excited about will, stave off aging.
You mentioned Robert Smigel. Is there anybody else you could tease that's coming up on the?
Are you guys SCTV fans?
Oh yeah.
The next one up it will be Joe Flaherty's brother, Paul Flaherty, the director of Clifford.
Whoa! Oh wow!
He's Harry Crumb, and his writing partner at SCTV, a guy named Dick Blasucci, who ran Mad TV, wrote for Larry Sanders, wrote for The Simpsons. There's a little short backstory there. I had booked Joe and Paul, first set of brothers or siblings we ever booked for the show, for the old show.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul and I were doing pre-interviews, and I was about to get on with Joe and do that, but Gilbert was declining.
No.
And his situation was progressing, and then he went downhill rapidly, and we never got to do that show. And then obviously in those 3 years that I was sitting out, Joe passed.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I put this together, I called Paul and I said, "Is there any point in doing this with just you and me and remembering Joe and Gil?" And so that's what we did. So it's an SCTV tribute show, but specifically a tribute to Joe.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, brother.
Sure.
Same here.
Yeah, so that's the next one up, and Robert will be in the mix somewhere in there. I'm making it up out of whole cloth every week. My wife Genevieve is very helpful. She organizes me. I don't know if you guys have ADD, but I sure do.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
She said to me, "Get a big legal pad and just write down 50 ideas." And I just brainstormed all over the place. Okay, I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with, the Merry Marvel Marching Society, Twin Peaks, Irwin Allen disaster movies. I just kind of free associated. And now the challenge, it's kind of fun to assemble this show because it's a little bit of a puzzle. Now the challenge is, okay, who wants to come and talk about this shit?
Yeah.
I think early on when we started doing this show, it might have been the second year, we were doing it audio only, and Jeff lined up Max Gale, and it ended up being a 2-hour interview. So
he's a great guy.
He was so fun, and what a great was the focus Barney Miller? Or did you go all over the place? All over the place, didn't we, Jeff? We talked about Barney Miller because
it was like the 40th or 35th anniversary of Barney Miller, I think.
Yeah,
when we had him on. So,
but we talked about all sorts of stuff, and he talked about some of the causes. The first comedian Jeff and I ever saw together live was Steve Landisberg at our college.
Oh God, that's a great name.
Yeah.
We were in high school, junior high, yeah. And then who was it after that? Robert Klein the year after.
I'm working on getting Robert for this show.
Oh wow, that would be
tall
awesome.
order. He does, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can do it.
Is he in good health still?
Yeah. I was hanging out with him on the picket line when the Writers Guild was on strike, and he was just walking around with his sign. And of course, I'm that guy that goes up to a celebrity and says, "Do that bit."
Yeah,
I can't sound my leg bit.
Well, even before that, I mean, his albums, Child of the 50s and Mind Over Matter, which are terrific comedy albums, and I could do a whole show about comedy albums. I'd say, Robert, do the Fred Capistello bit. He was doing it for other writers on the picket line. It's funny. I found myself like hosting an invisible show on the picket line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, here comes Alan Zweibel, and there's Mike Reese from The Simpsons, and they're walking around, and I knew all these guys. Mostly from the podcast. So I'm introducing people who don't know each other. And, we're having these wonderful conversations that are just sort of taking off. Ed Solomon was there, the writer of the Men in Black movies, and Bill and Ted. And, hi, Ed, and it's Alan, and this guy, and Mike Reese, and wrote on It's Gary Shandling's show with... that was Alan's show. And so some of them knew each other, had backstories. Larry Wilmore walked over. And I thought, I'm doing a show I'm doing a show on a picket line without a mic. So that was another catalyst for this. I thought, well, I just better get a mic and do something. So here we are again.
Amazing.
We're glad to have you back for sure.
Well, you guys are too kind, and I really appreciate that because, you want the feedback is nice and the approval is nice, but you want to get it from your peers and you want to get it from people in the industry. Those are the people I'm aiming directly at.
Right.
Somebody with a Bill Macy obsession like this guy.
Come on. That's as much as I could do. I do my Orson Welles on our radio show because my boss is a huge fan of Orson Welles. Loves all of his movies. So I just went into this, and it blew his mind. And then we'll let you go because we kept you for so long. But I said, he said that Orson Welles loved Burt Reynolds. And I started talking about Burt Reynolds being in the movies, and I said, I didn't live long enough to see Hooper. But he did. And
I love it. Another Robert Klein reference there, by the way.
and what's his name from Dukes of Hazzard, James Best, and Jan Michael Vincent. And then I went in this whole thing. I started talking about Dallas, and he interrupted me, and I just, in character, I went, no, you're thinking about Knots Landing. Gary, because he was an alcoholic, and there were two different actors that played him, and at one point, Ray was sleeping with his niece, and he didn't even know it. Charlene, stuff like that. So that's...
I like it. It's a little like you're doing Maurice LaMarche doing Orson. But
yes.
that's a compliment, because that adds an extra dimension.
And never be able to do Bob Hope. There's only one Bob Hope.
Only Dave, right?
Yep.
Peter Bogdanovich came on the show with us and told us, and you can hear that episode, for whatever reason, this is the kind of shit I love. For whatever reason, Orson Welles was obsessed with Kojak.
Really?
Yeah. So they'd go out or they'd go to the supermarket because he was living with him. Orson was, I don't want to say he was couch surfing, but he was living off the kindness of friends.
He set fire to his bedroom, didn't he, when he was living there?
Something like that, yeah. But he had to get home in time for Kojak. Which just makes me so happy to know that.
Yeah.
Frank, before we let you go, plug the social medias for the new show and your Patreon and all that.
Oh, you're too kind. I think it's Patreon/Fun for All Ages. Here it is. It's in front of me. Look at that. Thank you, Genevieve. Patreon.com/Fun for All Ages podcast. That's a mouthful. And there have been some great reviews, too, already on Apple and Spotify, which warms my heart. So I will say to people, please give us reviews.
We'll need to do that ourselves, and we'll encourage everyone to do the same.
There'll be a website at some point, and Fun for All Ages with Frank Santopadre, I think yes, it should be a Facebook page by now.
Mm.
And these fans, God love them. They gravitate to this kind of stuff. Have you guys been on? Jeff, you're on the fan page.
Yeah.
They create this original art and think that the content inspires them, and it brings out people's individual talents, which I appreciate.
You inspired me to draw. I drew Jerry Lewis. I drew Fred Gwynn in the makeup, from the Munsters. And it just, every day after the show, well, there's nothing else to do, I'm like, I listened to the show, I'm going to go draw now. And, I know I could say it a million times, but it just really did mean so much. And the new show is going to mean just as much because
that's very sweet. And I hope so. And, I will say I am doing it from the heart. And I hope for the right reasons, which is really to connect with people. And in turbulent times that we're living in, to give people something to escape into for an hour and a half. If you can, if you're the kind of person that can get in your car and turn it on and listen to a 90-minute conversation, analysis of Count Chocula.
Yeah.
God bless you. This is the show for you.
Are you ever going to break down Norman's Corner?
Oh, God. Maybe. Larry David, of all people, wrote Norman's Corner. We'll do some Gilbert tribute shows like that. I'll have Dara back. And I'm glad you brought that up because we're still putting out two. You can go on. Everybody knows you can go on any of the platforms and access an episode anytime. But we do we do new releases, and I write new synopses for them every Monday and every Thursday. So we'd like to think of these as sister shows. You know, if you listen to the first two, you heard a Gilbert impersonator. There were clips of Gilbert in the second show. Wherever I can, I want them to be, two sides of the same coin, because they're reaching for the same emotion and the same. They're two shows trying to connect with the same people about the same thing. So I'm certainly not putting the other show in my past or in the dustbin or anything like that. It will continue to. And who knows? Maybe people will discover the new one and in turn not know about the old one and discover that one. I do get mail from people say, I just found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been 10 years.
Going to happen for an eternity. That'll just happen.
Yeah, my wife says I'll listen to all of them when you're gone.
Oh, that's great. Frank, thank you so much. And Jeff, thank you for reaching out. This is a joy. I mean, this is great. We
you're too kind. And listen, I appreciate it greatly. You're both good at what you do. It's important work. Keep it going. And I'll come back anytime I'm invited.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Frank.
Much love.
Thanks so much.
Well, that was great, man. We actually got to speak to Frank. I've been hoping and wanting that for a number of years, and it finally happened. So thanks to Frank again, and everybody check out the podcast. Fun for all ages. I haven't watched this week's yet, but I can't wait. It's Dana Gould, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed a little out of it, but he still managed to be really funny.
Oh, Dana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
think
the
he was
Gilbert
on the road or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like he was doing it from a hotel room after a gig or something.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine you'd be tired after that.
Yeah.
You'd be tired after doing a 4-hour radio show, too. Hey, we want to say rest in peace to two, opposite sides of the entertainment spectrum for sure, but two big names.
Connie Francis.
No, she already died. Yeah, but Connie Francis passed away. But Malcom Jamal Warner, who was living in Decatur, Georgia, in the Atlanta area, a huge star, and continued to get work after being on The Cosby Show. That's where everybody really got to know him. And it was a very sad, tragic accident that took his life. And it just kind of sucks when things like that happen. And so we're going to remember him fondly. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. Everybody kind of figured he was on his way out the door, but he did that really awesome concert and didn't let on that it was, I don't know.
A week before his death.
Yes. But a lot of heartfelt tributes going on to Ozzy. And, I've always enjoyed Ozzy's music. I've always enjoyed Black Sabbath. And, he became a television personality for real with that hugely successful reality show, The Osbournes, which MTV, I think was probably one of the last interesting things they ever put out. But it was a lot of fun. And so, generations will still discover his music and maybe they'll go back and watch the show. But it's certainly a huge loss for the music industry.
Growing up, Ozzy was kind of, especially with my religious upbringing and my family and stuff, he was always kind of something that I hid and would listen to.
You weren't allowed?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow. Jeff, you got into, what was the first one you bought? It was Shot in the Dark, right? That's the album you bought? Is that the name of the record?
Was it? Or was it Bark at the Moon? I don't know.
Bark at the Moon was before Shot in the Dark. The album, the song Shot in the Dark was a huge MTV hit.
Yeah.
And that's when, capitalizing on the fact that hair metal was so popular, these guys who had been doing it forever got into that wave and wrote it. Kiss, they took off their makeup. They did all those.
Speaking of Kiss, I wanted to ask you if you have seen Gene Simmons' son and Paul Stanley's son on TikTok.
No, did they have a channel?
They have a little band called Stanley Simmons or Simmons Stanley, something like that.
Yeah,
and they do covers, like Eagles covers and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it's real. They're really fucking good.
Oh, you got to send that to me. Tag me in videos and I'll follow them. But no, I haven't seen that. The guys from Kiss. I wonder what Ace's kids are doing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's how I say. I wonder if Ace and Peter Criss have any kids.
Nah, but we're gonna tour together, me and Peter, cause those guys are a bunch of douchebags that don't let us, glom onto them. They make us go away. I played a place in Horseheads, New York. It was a fucking blast.
Rest in peace, Ozzy. Keep rocking. I know you're probably in heaven, even though you're the Prince of Darkness, but people go to heaven who bring joy to the world, I would say. And he never really ate a bat, as far as I know.
No, he did, really.
No, he did.
Oh,
He talked
did.
about it on Letterman.
So he ate.
Because there were a bunch of fake bats in the props for the show.
Mhm.
Someone threw one on stage, and he thought it was one of the fake ones.
Oh.
He picked it up, and it was a real bat. He didn't realize it until after he bit the head off.
I thought, Christ, man, it's a real bat. And I thought, oh, God, it tastes like fucking mouse, right? With wings. And I chewed the fucking thing up.
He had to get rabies shots in the stomach.
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah.
If you eat a bat, you get fucking rabies. It's awful, but you don't want that, So, fuck.
It was supposed to, I thought that Sharon had stated that they were going to Sweden for euthanasia anyway.
Oh, they were. Oh.
And it hasn't come out yet as to exactly what it was, but I think that he went to a hospital and Sharon was just with him and he tended to pass. But she's always said that she wanted to go when he.
Yeah, they had some kind of pact where they were going to go out together.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some staff picks. Mine, unsurprisingly, is Dusty Slay Wet Heat, a brand new Netflix special that drops on the 29th of this month. Brand new, and I'm bummed I'm not going to see him. You can hear me do an impression of him if you get Trambles this week, where I talk for, I don't know, 10 minutes like him.
40 minutes.
No, it's a 35-minute episode. I'm only for a little bit. I had a lot to say this week about things and radio and stuff. So
why can't you go see him?
My wife's going to a wedding in Pittsburgh, and so I'm over it that weekend, and I would need a babysitter, and it's hard to find one that you can trust. And last time Dustin did it, he ate all of Gilbert's food.
Well, it looks so good.
I know.
He wouldn't complain.
Daddy, where's my food? Speaking of Gilbert, he's in a fundraising promo for the Carathon. He did a really good job. Daddy coached him, and then the bosses cut it up to sound like no one coached him.
Nice.
Mine's Naked and Afraid Apocalypse. It's just another Naked and Afraid show, but they're making it seem like it's in the apocalypse.
Okay.
They just sprinkle like baby dolls around the desert.
Nice.
There's a bunch of shit that looks like it was blown up and stuff.
Yeah.
Like laying around.
Do they have a chance of getting radiation?
I don't think so.
My staff pick, have you guys seen Grave Conversations?
No.
It is a new podcast. Well, it's about 5 months old. It's hosted by David Machallan.
Okay.
How do you say his name? He's the one that played Polka Dot in the
he's on
Squad.
he's on Murderbot.
Yeah, he is on Murderbot.
And Dexter.
Yeah. But he's the concept of this podcast is crazy. Both him as the host and then the guest both lay in coffins and have a conversation. And he's had usually everyone, James Gunn. He's had everyone from like Suicide Squad. But this week he had Kevin Smith on.
Oh, really?
So it's interesting to watch Kevin. The view is just top down.
Right.
Down into a coffin. And
Nice.
It's an interesting concept for a podcast. I mean, at least I have never seen anything like it before. But he's a pretty good interviewer, too.
Where is it? YouTube?
Yes, on YouTube.
Right on.
Grave Conversations.
Check that.
Hey, I'm back, Mr. Sam Elliott. And I want to talk to you about one of the places I like to go whenever I'm in the Atlanta area, called Atlanta Pizza and Euro. And they've proudly been serving the East Metro Atlanta area for over 40 years. Atlanta Pizza and Euro is a place to be this summer. I don't know if they have Coors. Coors is a banquet beer. But they are featuring 3 tavern breweries, a night on Ponce. That's an IPA, and it's now available on draft. Atlanta Pizza and Euro has the best gyros, pizzas, hot subs, and Greek and Italian specialties around. Family-owned and operated, independent restaurants are a dying breed. And Atlanta Pizza and Euro continues to be a local favorite, serving the east side of Atlanta for over 30 years. Hey, Mike's food truck is out and about, so if you see the food truck run, contact Mike at 770-483-6228 if you're interested in booking the food truck for your corporate or private event. Tuesday nights, they got team trivia from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Bring your smartest friends and test your trivia knowledge against the best Conyers has to offer. Hey, they're open for dine-in or takeout Monday through Friday from 11 to 9, Saturdays 12 to 9. They're closed on Sunday, which is Lord's Day, dude. Another fine sponsor of Radio Labyrinth is LDI Repro Printing. Do you have commercial or residential construction printing needs? Well, what are you waiting for? Contact LDI Repro Printing of Athens. They've been in Athens, Georgia since 2005 with fast turnaround and affordable prices. Call 706-316-9366 or email them at athens@ldiline.com.
Guys, are you reading the online comments?
Gotta read some of these comments.
I'm loving your guys' comments.
You're reading your own comments?
Yeah, they're really good. I worked hard on them.
The secret is don't read the comment card.
Let's read your comments from YouTube. Last week on the program, we talked about Dexter Resurrection, and Dustin put up a couple of polls. Are you watching Dexter Resurrection? Yes, I love it. No, should have stayed dead. Tied at 40%. Not yet, waiting to binge, had a big fat 0, and didn't know it was back, 20%. Who's the smartest serial killer in movie history? We also talked about serial killers in movies and television. And let's see, Hannibal Lecter won hands down, 59%. And I believe there was a tie for second place, John Doe from 7. Dexter Morgan came in second place. And Anton Chigurh came in at 6%. So that was the polls. It was neck and neck for a while. Well, it wasn't neck and neck. We thought everybody's like, fuck you, quit talking about Dexter. Christopher Coker says, it would be so cool if Dexter were brought back with the shovel and lightning. All old canon. Go Dexter. And Brett Perkins said underneath that, with Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter. King Reno Band said Anton Chigurh isn't smart in the traditional sense, but he's terrifying because he operates like fate itself. That randomness is intelligence. This list missing Jigsaw is wild. You know, I thought about that after we did it. Guy literally got people to torture themselves and still left inspirational quotes. Great show this week. Your show is now my regular Saturday morning. Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you very much. Nightcrawler is also likely autistic, which you don't see a lot of in fictional serial killers. That comes from Andrea. John Bennett says Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery in Boondock Saints. Shepherds they shall be. And that's it. Thank you guys for your comments. We love your comments. Please leave us a comment on the YouTube page. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Leave it there. We read it, huh? Give suggestions for, well, what to talk about. We appreciate your input, as they say, and like and subscribe if you're new to the video. Let's do some plugs and stuff. Hey, you could become a Radio Labyrinth Patreon member. It's very simple. You go to patreon.com/Tim Andrews. We have a bunch of different tiers. It's very easy to jump in and watch us do our live Radios in the Dark show, which we do most Wednesdays. We're not doing it tonight. But most Wednesdays, you can catch us live after we record the main show. And after watching a couple of podcasts that I haven't watched all the way, Jeff was just vibrating there. I thought there was an earthquake. It was just his camera, but I'm like, what's going on at Jeff's? But you can also become a producer of this show, an executive producer. And the executive producer level is $25. What you get is a T-shirt from our T-shirt shop. And you get, what else? Oh, a drawing. You get all the other tier stuff. And, I'll even come over to your house and cut your grass. Not really. Maybe if you live close. But you are an executive producer. You help keep the show going. And I want to thank those $25 level executive producers. John Allen, Matt Carter, Chris Chandler, Mike D., Jim Fortner, Roby Neely, Jeff Peterson, Tim Slayton, and Brian and Chelsea Smith. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your support. But at any level, we appreciate what you give us. Remember to like, rate, and review us if you're an audio-only podcast listener. I'm like that. I like to listen, but I watch our show because Dustin does a great job, and I think you should too. And subscribe to the YouTube and turn on the alerts. Do all that stuff they tell you to do because it's really important. Trambles is a show that I do every week. It's audio only. I got some characters on there. I sometimes workshop voices. This week, it was way too long for Jeff. It was 900 hours of me doing a bad Dusty Slay impression or workshopping it. And I also do a radio show on WSB every Saturday called The Popcast. This week, I'm speaking with comedian Josh Sneed, who has a new special available. So we'll be talking about that. Unless I'm missing anything, Lizzie will be back next week. We hope she had a great vacation. Thank you guys for watching. And until next week, please remember to
keep it canon.
What do you say all good things come to an end?
What's that got to do with this show?